Welcome to Ark Wildlife Park. Today we're going to look at the story of Dink and Niblet, two of our meerkats. Down here we've got Niblet. He's one of two brothers, and oh, there's his brother. There's Dink. Now, at Ark Wildlife Park we have a number of meerkats, and the reason being is, unfortunately, as soon as an animal becomes popular in the media, so back in the 1980s we had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and everyone wanted to keep a pet terrapin, and then after Finding Nemo came out, people wanted to keep clownfish. At the moment, because of a certain popular advert here in the UK, meerkats are incredibly popular. So people are getting meerkats as pets, and unfortunately they don't make the greatest of pets. So meerkats, despite as cute and as wonderful and as fascinating as these guys are, especially this little guy here, Niblet, they don't make great pets. Now, the reason Dink and Niblet are quite so people orientated is because we had to hand raise them. Now, we have a number of meerkats here at the Ark, and in two separate enclosures. Because meerkats are incredibly territorial, it's very difficult to integrate unrelated or unknown meerkats to each other. They can sort of often fight to the death. So it's a bit of a problem for sanctuaries like ourselves, because people are getting these pet meerkats and realising they don't make great pets, unfortunately. Now, what happened is Dink's mum, Sam, came into us and she wasn't in great condition. She'd been kept in a rabbit hutch. Now, normally at the Ark we have an ethos as if we don't particularly breed animals, because most of the animals here, being rescues from the pet trade, they're not an endangered species, so there's no genuine conservation reason to breed them. But in the case of meerkats, we make an exception, because meerkats are, as I'm sure you've seen in the documentaries, very family orientated animals. They like to live together in a big group that we refer to as a mob. As you see, I'm now part of that mob. So once Sam was better and all her fur had regrown back and she was nice and healthy, we introduced her to a rescued male called Chili. And we decided to let them start a family, because meerkats really need more than just a pair to be comfortable. They need a little family unit. So we allowed Chili and Sam to have a litter of babies, which they did do. But unfortunately, Mum, first litter, it does sometimes happen, unfortunately, she abandoned them. So Mum Sam gave birth to 4 meerkat pups. Now, unfortunately, they were born premature, and that's why the vet thinks she abandoned them in the wild. If the mum thinks there's no real hope for the babies, unfortunately, she will abandon them rather than put all that effort and resources in trying to raise them. But we couldn't let that happen, so we bottle fed them. Now, unfortunately, of the 4, only 2 survived. Dink and Niblet, they were the runts of the litter, but they were obviously the fighters. But unfortunately, their 2 brothers didn't survive. We gave it our best shot, feeding them every 2 hours through the night. And to be quite honest, when that young newborns, it was always going to be really low probability. So we were really lucky, and it shows what fighters they were, that they actually, the 2 of them actually survived. And that's when we took Dink and Niblet into our lives, and we bottle fed them. It was 2 hours for the first few weeks, even overnight, and they lived in our home with us, and they grew very, very rapidly, and as you can see, they survived and did really well. But because of that initial bonding process of having to hand feed them every 2 hours, they became very used to human interaction, and they kind of view us as either big meerkats, or potentially they may think they're little people themselves. So that's why we now have these 2 incredibly people orientated meerkats. But like I said, they don't usually end up like that as pets. These meerkats, they need lots of space, they need plenty of room to dig, they need a diet that's primarily based on live insects, they need heating, especially in the colder months here in the UK, so they're an expensive animal to look after. So we really do not condone or cannot recommend these be kept as pets. Now, Dink and Niblet have since now part of their own family unit. Here in this enclosure, they live with a couple of other rescued meerkats that have come into us, and we successfully were able to bond them. The reason being is we introduced them at a relatively young age to a rescue meerkat who came into us called Stumpy. And Stumpy is so cool because he's only got a little stump for a tail. Unfortunately, again, came into us in very bad condition, and his tail was rotten, and our vet had to amputate it. It was so necrotic. But he's doing really well now, and he was the alpha of the group. We introduced the 2 meerkats to him because Stumpy was craving company. He accepted them, and then later on came another meerkat, a little lady, and she's been accepted by these guys because this is a group of males, and so they hadn't got a female, a matriarch, because meerkats are a matriarchal society, so they readily accepted her as well. So they now have their own little family unit, and we may even at some point, Dink and Niblet may actually become dads themselves. So what exactly is a meerkat? Well, meerkats are actually a type of mongoose. And mongoose are famous for being quite voracious little predators. They're the ones that are famous in the movies for tackling snakes, especially cobras. So we shouldn't be surprised that meerkats can actually be quite voracious little animals themselves. They are very efficient predators in their native southern Africa, specifically the Kalahari Desert is famous where these guys come from. So they'll eat a lot of insect prey, but also arachnids, things like tarantulas and scorpions will make up part of their diet, and on occasion venomous snakes as well. So they really are quite feisty little animals, which is another reason why these guys don't make particularly great pets. Now, as I said earlier, it's really difficult to introduce meerkats to each other that are unrelated. They can be quite aggressive, and in the wild they'll even fight to the death with rival clans of meerkats, or the correct term for a family group of meerkats is a mob. But the other big danger you've got to worry about if you're a meerkat is birds of prey. So the traditional African predators, lions, leopards, cheetahs, that kind of thing, hyenas, don't tend to bother these guys because they are so small. It's barely a Malteser for a lion. But birds of prey, real big threat, which is why meerkats have this lovely banded brindly markings on their back, and it helps them to blend in to the dry grasslands and breaks up their outline, makes it more difficult for birds of prey to spot them. Another adaptation these guys have got for living in such harsh conditions and in the desert is the black markings around the eyes, which is one of the characteristic reasons I think meerkats look so cute and why people love them so much. It looks like they're constantly wearing mascara. These are actually built-in sunglasses. Black absorbs light, so by having black around your eyes, and we see this a lot in desert animals like cheetahs and some species of impala, it helps absorb some of the sunlight. So they're absolutely fascinating little beasties, but they really don't make great pets, I'm afraid. So please don't ever think about taking on a meerkat as a pet. They're quite hard work, maybe adorable, but really not worth it. And for the best of the meerkat, please don't encourage the pet trade by buying these animals.